Unless you're living under a rock, I think everyone can see that the Golden State Warriors are having yet another underwhelming season. While Klay Thompson does get most of the backlash for this, most of the team's problems have nothing to do with him. For example, Draymond Green. He's completely switched professions this season, going from NBA player to a UFC fighter. I mean, the man has literally been on a mission to injure players every single game, it seems like. Back on Klay Thompson. Recently, he asked the reporter, did they want the team to bench him?
Kurt talks a lot about believing in his guys, especially the starting lineup. Won championship not too long ago. Having patience, letting guys kind of, find their game. How aware are you of that kind of patience, and how much do you value it?
What do you want me to bench me?
This clip sort of foreshadowed what was to come in a way. This was before the Draymond suspension. Plus, Andrew Wiggins has been playing absolutely terrible this season. He's averaging just 12 points per game, while shooting a horrible 30% from 3. Yikes. Wiggins is such an important piece to this Warrior squad. He was the biggest reason they were able to win a championship back in 2022. He was that perfect glue piece that put them over the edge. During that season, he put up 17 points while shooting nearly 40% from 3. Yeah, that's much different than now. He made the Warriors' offense so hard to stop because if teams focused too much on Steph and Klay, he could go get you 25 to 30 easily. He was an elite shooter, a great finisher and cutter, and he showed the ability to create his own shots when called upon. His defense was incredible too, especially against Jason Tatum in the NBA Finals. He was just the defender they needed to get over the hump, in a role that was once filled by Klay Thompson, to defend the best players. Wiggins had overtaken that completely. It worked very well for the team, which is why they thrived. But as a result of his poor play current day, Steve Kerr had to bench him. It's just so crazy how fast the tables have turned. Not only for Wiggins, but the team in general. A couple of seasons ago, the lineup of Steph, Klay, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Kevin Looney was a lineup that teams would hate to go up against due to their versatility on both sides of the court. However, that has changed, and that same lineup is now one of their weakest lineups. So Steve Kerr thought it was best to bench Wiggins and replace him with the rookie Brandon Podziemski. And when asked about it, he said this: "It felt like we needed a shift. I feel like Brandon gives us the extra playmaker on the floor in the starting lineup. Obviously, he's a great rebounder, competes, excellent defender, and then JK deserves the minutes with Draymond out." After a game versus the Phoenix Suns, Klay Thompson even admitted that he deserved to be benched after a tough night. But even with all of this being said, let's not forget all the things Klay has accomplished. He was an extremely important piece for all of the Warriors' 3 championships during their dynasty. He and Steph brought together a dynamic that we've never seen before. 2 of the very best shooters in NBA history on the same team. I don't know if you guys remember, but between the 2013 and 2016 era, basketball was just different. The Splash Bros were the hottest tandem in the modern game. Every kid wanted a Splash Bro. I know Steph revolutionized the game with his logo threes, but Curry wouldn't have been as productive if he didn't have Klay, who once demanded the same amount of attention as him from behind the three-point line. Klay Thompson was one of the most well-loved players in the NBA. He didn't really talk or show emotion. He just played great defense and shot the lights out of the basketball. This is the same man who scored 60 points with only 11 dribbles. Yeah, just ridiculous. But one thing that I think that gets swept under the rug about his career is his injuries. During the 2019 NBA Finals versus Toronto, he suffered an injury that is usually career-ending or alternating for most NBA players, a torn ACL. Not only that, but when he was coming back, he would tear his Achilles in 2020. People were questioning if he would ever play again. Tearing your ACL is a huge problem in and of itself. Tearing your Achilles on top of that is just brutal. DeMarcus Cousins is a player who went through both of those injuries as well, and now he's playing in China at just 33 years old. During Klay's injuries, the Warriors were a class act, extending him once he tore his ACL, signing him to a 5-year, $190 million contract. Another thing is this: When the NBA draft came around, many fans were wondering if the Warriors would draft a replacement just in case Klay Thompson didn't look the same productivity-wise post-injury. As we all know though, they would not, and instead drafted James Wiseman, which was a disaster. It just makes you think about what it would have looked like if they had gone with the replacement idea and selected LaMelo Ball. However, we see LaMelo is having his fair share of injury problems of his own, so who knows what would have happened. Nonetheless, when he returned during the 2021-2022 season, he was very detrimental to them winning a title that season. While he wasn't the same Klay as before the injury, he was still putting up 20 points per game, while shooting 38% from 3. His once elite defense did take a hit, but he was still valuable on that end as well. Things didn't really start to go downhill until last season. You see, that's when the Warriors' 4-time UFC champion, Draymond Green, would punch Jordan Poole during an altercation in practice. This made things weird within the organization, because now, the front office didn't know if they wanted to move forward with Draymond, who had an expiring contract, or if they wanted to move forward with the Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins, and Jonathan Kuminga young core. This decision was so difficult that Bob Myers would step down from his position, and he even admitted it too, when asked about Klay Thompson's future in Golden State.
This is why I left, first of all. Look, a lot of times people will say it's just business, but this is not a just business situation. This guy, there's gonna be a statue of this player outside of Chase Center. He was instrumental in bringing 4 championships. He's beloved inside the organization, the fan base. So it's not so simple as it's money and years. This is why it was hard for me. You get relationships with these people, especially if you've succeeded with them. And that core has been together for 12 years. And that's just so rare now. That just doesn't happen. And so this is a delicate negotiation. From what I know and see, he wants to stay. They want him to stay. Doesn't mean it'll happen. But it is a test. It's certainly a test, like Woj said, and this is probably the first real test.
Of course, we know Jordan Poole would end up getting traded to the Washington Wizards, and Draymond and the Warriors would reach an agreement on a $100 million contract extension. At the time, it seemed like a great idea. Now, it seems like a horrible mistake. Not because of his on-court play performance, though. He has career-high three-point percentages along with averaging the most points he's averaged in the last 5 years. Not only that, but he's still clearly one of the best defensive players in the league. However, the Warriors really miss Jordan Poole. Not the Wizards version, but the one who helped them win a championship in 2022. Jordan Poole as the primary scorer and number 1 option just isn't working. But Poole as a 3rd or 4th option is a different story. The Warriors are the 11th seed in the conference, while also being a shell of themselves offensively. With Wiggins not being that high-quality 2nd or 3rd option that he was expected to be, the offense isn't able to put up as many points as they're accustomed to, especially now that their main facilitator in Draymond is gone. Jordan Poole would have helped significantly in this department. Steph just doesn't have that high-scoring partner anymore, with Klay and Wiggins regressing this season. Klay's contract is expiring, and this past offseason, he voiced that he wanted a max contract. But at age 33, and obviously not close to who he once was, I don't know how realistic it is for the Warriors to give him the max. This situation is just messy, and from the looks of it, it'll all get worse before it gets better.